Hey, what up, everybody? All right, so y'all saw the question: who's more racist, black or white? So when you think about racism, first off, I want to say that I think all of us are prejudiced. I have some misconceptions about. I've been around white people, black people. I lived in Florida for 9 years. I was around a lot of Spanish. I had preconceived notions about Spanish people until I lived in Florida. And then I realized that Mexicans weren't the same as Puerto Ricans, weren't the same as Cubans, weren't the same as Colombians. And, and if you get up close and personal with any of them, as I did with all of them, I just found out it's really easy to stereotype and just be dead wrong. So when I think about the concept of black and white now there I've seen some consistencies. In fact, uh, I could say as a black man who has been around a lot, spent substantial time around other cultures, even if something is true, it can still be considered racist. So, for example, if a white person happens to cite a proven statistic, like for example, if they said something like, well, a lot of black people got felony records, or they're disproportionately poor, disproportionately convicted felons, that stuff is true. But if a white person said it, it would be considered, that white person would be considered racist, even though they were saying something that was true. And now that said, if a white person says something that was true, a black person will sit up and say things that aren't necessarily even true and deny that's even racism. So, something interesting happened to me today. I told people I went down to Henry Ford Hospital. I was down there on a little ministry work. But anyway, I found myself, standing outside, because they were testing everybody for this coronavirus. So there was a little lady, little black woman. I'm guessing she was probably in her mid 60s, late 60s, possibly. But she seemed really, really sweet, And of course, I'm in my minister posture, so I've got the kind face and the compassionate smile, and the lady greets me and she says, "Hey," she said, "Are you still preaching?" And I was like, "Wow," because I never actually thought of myself as a preacher, but I guess on some level I may be. And so anyway, short answer is yes. And she's, I didn't know if she just knew me from YouTube, or if she was familiar with me from. I didn't know. So anyway, we just kind of struck up a conversation while we were waiting to be tested. They were taking people's temperature as we were going inside inside the Henry Ford. And after we had gotten our temperature taken, and then we were kind of standing there at the elevator, and it was just me and her. So she says, I'm thinking, man, this is a really sweet woman. I invited her to Bible study, blah, blah, blah. I gave her my card and stuff. And so then we just get on the elevator. It's like, and you see all these white people got these viruses and stuff. See, our black people don't be having all of these diseases. I was totally blown away, right? Even though, I mean, to hear her say that, like, seriously, you really, this is a white person virus. First off, I wouldn't even deny, first off, for one, the comment was totally and completely racist. was nothing but pure, unadulterated racism. Based on nothing but you know habits and patterns of blaming anything negative on white people. That's where that comes from. I mean, I could be a little bit more even-handed about where she might have gotten those ideas from. But the truth is, I'm finding that a lot of people are just plain old racist. And it is kind of unfortunate that we see black people saying this so much, but it seems like we're the ones who are always saying it's racist. I made a comment about a young lady that I recently went on a date with. I just made a video about it yesterday. Anyway, but I didn't even tell people that as I was talking to her one night, she said something about the reason she knows she's in a racist society is because if Barack Obama's wife, if Michelle Obama had done pictures like Melania, where she was like really, had on bathing suits and kind of racy pictures. She was like kind of borderline pornography. I ain't gonna even lie. Like a soft porn. She wasn't really showing nipples or anything. Really. But the truth was they were kind of risque pictures. However, the comment that Barack Obama wouldn't have been president. Well, first of all, there's some kind of idea of, well, Michelle Obama and Melania Trump are two totally different women, and whether or not her pictures would have been accepted on the same level as Melania, is that's a hard sell. I remember when they first got, when I first started watching them, I thought Michelle was relatively nice looking, but, the more I watched stuff evolve, Michelle did kind of took on this masculine posture. I know a lot of people, a lot of my black friends will be mad at me for saying this. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. I really did see it. And whereas, as of yet, I haven't seen that in Melania. Melania still looks very, very feminine. Now, you can say it's because she's white, because she's got straight hair. I mean, you can say whatever reason it is. I'm just saying that for looks, personally, in my opinion, Michelle can't touch Melania. And we're supposed to say, oh, well, Michelle is as fine as Melania because she's black. That's more that like I said, some of this stuff is just plain old racist, and I just don't think it's right. Now back to the subject, are white people racist? I've worked for a couple of big builders here in Michigan and in Florida, and I can tell you as the only black manager on some of these sites I've been on, I have sensed the resentment of my authority. I have also understood that most people did not think that I could possibly have earned that position, that I was there some kind of result of some affirmative action or something, some racial quota that needed to be met because I was always the only black manager. And all of the big builders I've worked for, I've never had another black manager on the site, period, in the company, period. Also, there's the concept that I'm not as smart as the other ones. I mean, you gotta kind of weigh. Nobody actually comes out and says these things to you, but you have a way of gauging how you fit in the hierarchy and what the value system is. And then, but fortunately, for myself, I represent, and I got out there, and as time went by, I earned my respect. I earned my status, and people understood that it wasn't just that I got lucky and walked into the job, but that I was highly qualified, more qualified in my opinion than most of the other people who were there on the site. So I guess, like I said, that I do consider that racism. This is the thing about racism on both sides, though, in my opinion. First off, if the racism is real, like, for example, if somebody wants to feel superior because they're they're white, and there are more black people who are in prison or whatever. If they really want to make an issue of that and that makes them feel better, then if you don't have enough confidence in yourself to understand that actually on intrinsically lowers them if they have to reach for that for a validation, because as we are as individuals, you know the character of other white people may not match my character, and vice versa. Black character also. And the idea that we have to take somebody's side on something, that, as with the Melania and Michelle Obama comparison, we have to take, if you're black, you have to take Michelle's side if you compare them appearance wise. Well, I don't have to do that, and I refuse to do that. And I think Melania is a lot finer than Michelle. So y'all can make what you want to make it at, and it's just too bad. And but I understand that most people don't see it the way that I see it. See, this is another thing. You got to realize that everybody doesn't see life through the same light, but you got to look at what does the Bible say about it. Now, there is a chapter in Book of Numbers, is chapter 12. Anyway, it says that Moses' brother and sister, Aaron and Miriam, spoke against Moses because he had married that black Ethiopian woman. And eventually, as it came to pass, God punished Miriam with leprosy. And actually, she was going to die if Moses had not begged God for her mercy for his sister. So that's what God thought of the racist comment, and the fact that women, in general, Miriam couldn't keep her mouth shut when God went to reprimand them both. He said, "Yeah, well, when I got stuff to say to you two, or to my prophets, or whatever, I'll speak to you in visions and dreams." Now, when I talk to Moses straightforward, So, Aaron just kind of took his chewing out, but Miriam was like, "Well, God, when you speak to us, blah 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 blah. Well, I'm just as good as Moses. Don't you do that with me too? Don't you talk?" So God struck her, and unfortunately, women are mouthy, or emotional, and they do look for reasons like that. That's why I'm not very often surprised when I hear these emotional responses. So, back to the issue is, are blacks more racist than whites? In my opinion, I think we are, as a race in general. Proportionately, I think we do tend to condemn white people as a group. Not myself personally, because you can say it's judgmental. I don't care what you say. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't look at all white people as being bad no more than I look at all black people as being good. And just because you're black, you're not getting my vote. So you could have did that with Mr. Gillum down there in Florida if you wanted to, and you would have been caught up with a meth head, trisexual, do anything, cross genders, homosexual, whatever. So anyway, well, I guess this has been kind of a long video. I don't know why I thought this would actually be short, but the whole thing about the race issue is it does take a longer attention span. You got to have a higher ability to focus. You got to have a real love of the Lord in order to really look at His people and take them in fairly, and because even the scripture says, "Open your mouth, judge fairly, judge righteously, and take up the cause of the poor and the needy." Okay, and it also says, "Do you not know that the saints shall judge all things?" So if you are a saint, you see racism, you should call it out. So I was gonna call that lady out because she actually put her phone number on my phone so that I could contact her, so she could come to Bible study. But we're gonna have more talk about that. Anyway, I already see that this thing is getting long. So I'm gonna ask you to subscribe again if you're not already a subscriber. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.